All right, sorry about the interruption there. I had to take care of a little bit of business. So anyway, we'll pick up where we left off. I think we were speaking about Valerie Letourneau and Tony Sims and let's see here, Olivier Aubin Mercier. So speaking of which, Aubin Mercier, he looked decent in his last fight. He got the sub victory over his last opponent, which was the teacher guy. I forget his name. David Michaud? No. Not him. Anyway, I saw some footage on him against Jake Lindsay. That's who it was. Was watching some footage on Aubin Mercier and Jake Lindsay. He's gotten sub victories his last two victories. However, he does tend to leave himself open to strikes. He's not a very intelligent striker. He likes to try to run forward, and that can make him vulnerable to counter strikes. Tony Sims is an amazing boxer. He's got some of the best hands in his gym, which other fighters will agree with. The only thing that I would question would be his takedown defense. I think that he has decent takedown defense. However, I'm not sure that he can defend against a guy with the caliber of Aubin Mercier, who's a black belt in judo. Works really well from the clinch at getting guys to the ground. And he also has good takedowns in wrestling. Tony Sims, I think he just has enough defense to, keep the fight standing when he needs to. And if this stays on the feet at all, and if Aubin Mercier decides to strike and stay on the feet, he's going to get rocked. And there's a good chance here that it's going to be within the first round and he's going to get knocked out cold. I think Tony Sims definitely has a shot here. I think the majority of the fight will probably end up on the ground, and probably will be Aubin Mercier grinding himself to a decision victory. However, I would probably give the striking advantage to Tony Sims. Definitely would give the striking advantage to Tony Sims. He can keep his distance and stuff takedowns. He's definitely going to win this fight. He's got much better boxing, much better head movement than Aubin Mercier. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. I like him as a value play. I like Tony Sims as a value play. However, I believe my lean is going to go with Aubin Mercier. I do think he's going to get the victory here, unless he gets tagged. I may change my mind here on this later on, so keep an eye on our Twitter. I do have a lot of last-minute changes that I implement when I find out information or review footage and see something that I don't like. So, always keep an eye on our Twitter. And so I think the safest bet here with this fight is to go with the under 2.5 rounds, and it's even money. I feel like that's a good bet, and that's one that I probably will play. So those are my picks for that fight. And moving on to the next fight. Let's see here. Chad Laprise and Francisco Trinaldo. Chad Laprise being an Ultimate Fighter Nations winner, coming in at the favorite at -364. Francisco Trinaldo being underdog at +315. The over-under is set at 2.5 rounds, with the over being set at -253 and the under at +210. Those are some pretty juicy odds on the under. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets finished here. However, Trinaldo is a tough guy to finish. He's really good top control, heavy hands. Laprise is just an all-around, candidate from the Ultimate Fighter Nations who, beat Aubin Mercier, has beaten out all of the competition that he's faced. He's basically, I think he's undefeated. I think it was 11-0, I believe it was. Hasn't really lost yet. Trinaldo will be a good test for him, I think, because Trinaldo has experience over him, and he's fought much tougher game opponents. Laprise is 11-0. He's won by TKO 55% of the time. He's lands about 4.22 strikes per minute. He does mix in some takedowns, and he also defends takedowns very well at 76.92%. He does have the tendency of leaving himself out there and vulnerable to strikes at times, but he does have decent defense enough on the feet. He's usually the one landing more strikes than his opponents. So I think Trinaldo is definitely a game opponent here. I don't think he's going to get the win, although I don't know that Laprise is worth 3-1 here. I think that's a little steep. You may want to value play Trinaldo. My lean's to go with Laprise. I think he's going to win it, but we could see an upset here. It's not completely out of the question, but I do see Chad Laprise grinding himself to another victory here and moving on in the ranks. The under looks kind of juicy. Probably not going to touch that, but if you want a 2-1 odds, there could be a finish here. Highly unlikely, but it's definitely, I think that the odds are a little inflated there on the over. So under may be worth a look. I'm leaning on the over, but I'm not going to touch those odds. That's ridiculous. Moving on. Patrick Cote and Josh Berkman. Cote tends to like to strike more. He's coming in as a favorite against Josh Berkman. Cote is the underdog. I apologize. He's a positive 118 underdog. Josh Berkman is a negative 130 favorite. Over under is set at 2.5 rounds, with the over being favored at negative 172, under at a positive 145. Two things I see here. I see two guys that one guy who's been around for a while, lots of experience. Actually, both guys been around for a long time. Josh Berkman from season 2 of Ultimate Fighter. I really like Berkman here. I was actually at the fight when he fought against Hector Lombard, and I think he was definitely a dangerous opponent for Lombard. I mean, he was threw some crazy kicks and some crazy strikes, very unpredictable, very unorthodox. I think he was facing somebody a little bit out of his league there with Lombard. I think Lombard's a complete monster, but I think he held his own and he was able to survive for a very long time. If I remember correctly, I think that one went to decision. But he was game the entire time in that fight, and he definitely had a puncher's chance against Lombard. Cote, on the other hand, I just really haven't been that impressed. A lot of people are really talking Cote, as coming back. I'm not too sold on Cote. I think I like Berkman here in this position, but I would not be surprised to see Cote win this one. If it does go to the scorecards, it could be one of those upsets where somebody gets robbed, but it also could be in the other opposite end as being an upset with Berkman winning. So, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen here. I definitely feel like the odds reflect what's going to happen in this fight, but I do give a slight edge to Berkman with his unorthodox striking, his unpredictability, his willingness to really put himself out there, whereas Cote seems a little bit more hesitant to me, a little bit more methodical. I don't think that's going to do him well against a guy like Josh Berkman. Berkman is, a very game opponent, very experienced, and I think he's going to probably get the better of the exchanges here, and I would not be surprised to see this one end in like a TKO victory or even a submission victory for Berkman. Cote, if it does go his way, it's going to be probably ground out by a pick-apart decision, and I don't like anything that goes to judges' scorecards. So, and this one right here, I don't think it's going to go to the judges' scorecards. I could see there being a finish here, and I think that the under at positive 145 is worth a look. I'm going to lean on the under at positive 145, and I'm going to go with my lean to Josh Berkman. Not confident on those picks, but that's where my leans lie. Official picks will be on the Twitter, so keep an eye on that closer to fight time. Eric Silva, Neil Magny. Neil Magny stepping up, I think, on 2 weeks' notice against Eric Silva. Eric Silva has definitely looked a lot better in his recent fights. I think his last 2 victories have been via stoppage. Neil Magny, on the other hand, is coming off a loss against a very tough opponent, an elite grappler in, gosh dang it. Man, sometimes I get on these podcasts and I can't even think correctly. The names, man, no Adderall today. Damian Maia, duh. Fought against Damian Maia, got pretty much dominated the entire fight. Maia has a very heavy top position, and so Magny, you know, he did a good job defending all the submission attempts from Maia, but Maia just completely dominated the entire fight, all the way through 3 rounds. Magny just did not have any answers for that at all. I don't think Silva is going to have that kind of an effect on Magny, but I definitely think that Magny had some holes in his game exposed by Maia. Although nobody can transition like Maia, so I'm not worried about that at all here with Silva. I think Silva is a 1-round fighter, and then after that he tends to kind of fade. So, you know, as the fight progresses, things are going to definitely go in favor for Neil Magny. He's the underdog here at positive 170. Eric Silva is the favorite at almost 2-1, negative 190. Over under set at 1.5 rounds. Under being positive 140, over at a negative 166. My lean is to go with. This is a tough one for me, but I feel like both these fighters are on the same level. I feel like the loss that Magny had was a little bit. The odds definitely were a little bit inflated or deflated, I guess you'd say, making him an underdog this fight. So I like this position here. I feel like there's value with Neil Magny. I feel like he still knows how to use his distance. He's a tough guy. He's got a good chin. He's going to weather the storm early. He's not going to get knocked out. I don't see that happening at all. If anything, maybe a sub for Silva if Silva does win. But I think he's going to weather the early storm. Silva is going to probably lose some energy and gas somewhat in the second round after he comes out really hot out of the gate and doesn't get his TKO. And then Magny's going to kind of take over with his methodical pace, his high fight IQ. And we're going to see probably either a decision victory by Neil Magny, or we could see him tagging Silva, dropping him for a TKO or KO. It's definitely going to go over 1.5 rounds. I think 166 fine as a play. And I'm going with the underdog here. You know, a lot of people are on Silva. I'm not too impressed with Silva. I don't believe the hype train. Maybe we'll see different here. You know, I might be wrong, but I like where Magny's at right now. I don't like that he's taking this on short notice, but that could actually work in his favor. He's taken a lot of fights on short notice. So, you know, he's not done bad in those fights either. He wants to ride the momentum while he has it. I think Silva's got a little bit of momentum going for him as well, but I don't think he's a very high IQ fighter. He unless he starts fighting differently and fights a little bit smarter, I think Neil Magny here is in a better position. He's a smarter fighter. I think he is going to be prepared for this fight. So I'm taking Neil Magny as my lean. Not a final pick by any means, so just keep an eye on the feed, like I said. And we're going to the main event, Max Holloway versus Charles Oliveira. Holloway being a favorite, almost a little over 2-1 at negative 225. Oliveira positive 200, and the over/under set at 1.5 rounds. Over being favored at negative 228, and the under at almost 2-1, positive 190. This is going to be a really good fight, probably the fight of the night. I don't know that we see a finish here. It's going to be very close fight, I think. A lot of striking. I think that the striking advantage definitely goes to Max Holloway. I could see a finish from Holloway. I could see a TKO finish here. Holloway seems to be fighting at a different level, but although others could argue that Oliveira is also fighting at a new height. So definitely a very dangerous opponent with Oliveira with his subs. I think that he's going to have more of an advantage in the first round with those than anything. I don't see Holloway letting this one go to the ground. He's going to be very careful not to allow Oliveira to take him down. Oliveira doesn't have the most impressive takedown percentage, and I think Holloway's definitely gotten a lot better with his takedown defense. He's not perfect, but he did manage to survive a lot of the Dennis Bermudez takedowns. Did really well against Cub Swanson as well. He's definitely elevated his game. I think Holloway's in a right position here for title shot. I think he's going to get the victory. It'll either be an equal decision or a TKO victory for him. I think it's going to go over. That's my lean here, but I wouldn't touch those odds. And Holloway for my lean is a victor. So that about wraps it up here. I think that's going to be a really good fight, really good main event, and it's all free on Fox. Once again, make sure you add us to our Twitter feed for the live updates, post pre-fight, come fight time, and throughout the fight. We do post our picks about 15 minutes before each card starts, be it Fight Pass prelims or the main card. So you're going to want to keep an eye on our Twitters because things do change based off of our leans. When, like I said, when we find new info or we review footage and see a hole or a betting opportunity. So never final with any of these lanes. I tread very lightly, especially on this card. I think that a lot could happen here. So, just keep an eye on that feed for our official picks. And good luck. Hope everybody wins and cashes out today. And have a great weekend. Thank you.